Yes, we put ourselves out there. Sometimes it's coherent, sometimes it's incoherent, but it's just fun. It's fun to talk to you guys. So
Parsi XD checking in, saying hello, Parsi. Thank you for joining us here on the live feed. Appreciate you.
yes, hello.
All righty. Well, as we get going here, we're gonna as we do, we have been. If you're new to the show, normally what Victor and I do is we will focus on sort of one ongoing series, or if it's a film or whatever's been going on, and we usually open the show talking about that, and then we get into quick hits, some of the hot topics that have been going on during the week of geekdom. As of now, we have been following Star Wars: The Bad Batch, so we've been opening the show every week, talking about that and following along. Next week, Loki will be starting, and so we will be talking about Loki and The Bad Batch, and then going into quick hits as well. So that's sort of how we run the show. Obviously, we would love to talk about everything, but we just don't have that kind of time, and we also don't have enough time to start like different podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So
right.
We certainly do our best to cover the hottest topics, and we're both big Star Wars fans, so it just makes sense to cover shows that we're both watching and
absolutely.
So
So big social dilemma this week left upon us due to The Bad Batch. Social dilemma, is it I don't know. A lot of people have been wondering, did Luke kill Muncie? Is that what the name was?
Moochie.
Yeah. Damn it.
The big topic of the day, which is actually very heartbreaking if it's true.
Yeah.
Is that, did Luke kill Moochie in Return of the Jedi? Did we see Moochie's origin story in this episode? And I immediately, how could you not think of it, especially when they tie it in that Bib Fortuna comes in at the end, and you're like, oh my God, we just saw like Moochie, who's like, a lovable Rancor, a teenage Rancor. Did we just see what, we saw his end story in Jeddah, and we're seeing how he got there. So, I mean, is this the origin story of the Rancor that Luke kills?
We've been saying for the last few months how Disney has turned it up a notch in the violence.
Again,
all of a sudden, fans of Moochie are coming out and they're waving their fist in the air. Damn you, Luke Skywalker. What did you do? Look, Moochie was just misunderstood.
Yes.
It goes to show, we keep saying, depending on what side you're on, you think that you're in the right. And maybe that's why Luke went into hiding. He realized, I killed Moochie. I can't live with myself now.
No, right now, if they don't say this or this is or isn't, it's now gonna forever how I watch Jedi and how Luke takes out the Rancor, which we used to just call the Rancor monster.
Right.
And now it's not a Rancor monster anymore. It's Moochie.
Got a name.
It's Moochie, the Rancor. I mean, it's that Omega. Omega was able to tame, basically, like really turn around and calm down, became friends, and they're she's riding his back. It's just like, holy smokes, like there's this now like little budding friendship between Moochie and Omega, and they basically saved Moochie from, I guess whatever they're gonna make him a slave, or I don't know, sell him to another bidder, or who knows what they were gonna do,
right?
Those slavers. But I am now forever going to look at Return of the Jedi, that scene when Luke kills the Rancor monster, or Moochie. Could be Moochie.
Yeah.
Differently now.
Yeah. Well, we never knew that Moochie had a name. Maybe Moochie went to Bravos first, trained, and all of a sudden, Rancor has no name. Rancor. So all these years later, sure, we were in the right. We were just calling him Rancor monster, or her. Now we even know it's a she.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Where we have an assigned gender as well. And I was saying he, but yes, it is a she. So Moochie's a she, and when we see Moochie, she is a teenager. She's a teenage Rancor who's
Yes.
full of vigor and energy, and is really angry. And I would be super angry too, because she was locked in a cage, and who knows how much of abuse she had to handle with those slavers. So they got
Right.
what was coming to them for sure.
And I apologize. I'm jumping to conclusions. As
Right.
far as we know, it was a she. Could have been a gender fluid Rancor in the future.
Right.
So anyone that's watching this and may take offense to my wording, I apologize. Okay. I am jumping to conclusions that it was a female in the future.
Right.
But
Well, I gotta go look back because I'm not sure. I think they may have referred to gender in this episode. I had to go back and rewatch. But
okay.
so overall, though, I mean, this was a cool episode. We met a new character, which by the name of Sid, played by Rhea Perlman.
I knew it instantly. I heard her voice. I told my wife, that's Rhea Perlman.
So
I mean,
good.
there are some people that just have this identifiable voice, and right away who they are. I'm like, I don't even have to look this up. I know it's her, but just for just to confirm things, I'm gonna look it up just to see. But
I loved it. Yeah, it was so great to hear Rhea Perlman's voice, and of course, what a fitting character for Rhea Perlman to play, because definitely has that attitude, which I love.
Yeah.
But we found out some interesting stuff that the Jedi were using Sid for, I guess, to get intelligence.
Mhm.
I would assume that's what they were having Sid do, just because she seems to have connections everywhere. I guess,
Yeah.
like Maz, which we see later in Force Awakens, how Maz seems to like be involved in all kinds of stuff and has connections and
Or
resources.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, it seems Sid has got these the same sort of network of connections and all kinds of stuff all around the universe, and including bounty hunters and all kinds of I guess anything going on. It's like she's got her ear to the ground of the galaxy. So I was and we saw glimpses of this through Clone Wars, right? Like the Jedi talking to informants, things like that. But
Right.
this was a character we obviously didn't know about until just this episode. So I thought that was really cool, bringing back or introducing us to a character that is so tied to the Jedi, and she's obviously in hiding, and because it's the Empire, but there seems to be some stuff going on there with her. I'm wondering if we're setting up to seeing Sid play a role in Mandalorian at all. I mean, if that's going with that Sid's still around, but Maz Kanata was like, like what, 900 years old or something? She's as old as Yoda.
Everything that's going on, I mean, we've said it before, which is why it annoys me that people discounted. I don't watch the animated stuff. I don't consider that part of it. Yeah. Okay. So essentially, when certain things are happening, you're not paying attention. You're not hearing. You don't understand the importance. And it's funny, when you just brought up Maz Kanata, I was like, wow, I forgot about her for a second. But that's somebody that they could totally bring in any of the series, or even the animated series, where we don't know how she got Luke's lightsaber yet. We don't know.
Nope.
There's so much information that they need to fill in, that they need to fill out the stories, that this can still go in so many directions. And of course, I would imagine that doing it in an animated way, not how it was animated in the J.J. Abrams movies, because she didn't appear in the Rian Johnson movie, would be a lot cheaper than having the CGI and the robot that they used to do the original Maz Kanata, because they talked about it being if I'm not mistaken, the most expensive robot ever used on screen, because it had, I don't know how many articulations just in the face alone.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's so weird, because with the first movie, they just green screened somebody. They did it similar to like Andy Serkis, where, I don't know. Did Abrams just want to be able to say that he used the most expensive robot on screen of all time. You know, it's just kind of
Well,
weird.
it is, but it's also, I think it is that too. It's a little bit of that marketing of saying, hey, we're using
Yeah.
all practical effects, you know, and that includes characters. So we're going to make them into, you know, we're going to use these articulated robots. And, you know, I think it goes back to the days of how many puppeteers it took to control Jabba the Hutt, which was probably like the biggest puppet at that point ever created. And like, I mean, I was like 5 or 6. I forgot how many puppeteers actually it took to run Jabba. If Christian's out there listening, I'm sure he'll chime in because I'm sure he has that kind of that side.
Knowledge.
But there is, I mean, and that's like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy when you watch the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And see how many people took to like get Jabba to do all those things. And so I definitely think it's definitely like a little bit of a badge and bragging rights. And but it's
Yeah,
cool
makes
to
sense.
think that like, hey, they developed this and it looks great on screen. Like it definitely
Right.
comes off. I mean, it looks believable. And I think between the robot and the blending and all that stuff, I think I thought it looked cool. So yeah, just wondering if like, you know, like we'll see like the Sid character come back again. I mean, probably in the course of the series, maybe we'll see this character come back. I'm wondering if we'll see a live screen version of Sid at some point.
Yeah, the other thing that came to mind, and of course I have to throw to IMDb all of a sudden, is Nick Nolte's character.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah, the Ugnaught.
the Ugnaught. What was his name?
I have spoken.
I have spoken. That's it. I was
I
thinking, what's his name and what was his catchphrase?
have spoken. Yeah, I forgot his actual first name. I'm blanking out on it, but yeah, I have spoken. Yeah, he's definitely yeah, I mean, we may run across him because and this could be a little bit of this, like, do we start to see some of the seeds? I mean, it's very early, right, for Mandalorian, but I mean,
Right,
sowing some of the seeds. I mean, because we're just still in the Empire here. I mean, this is just the beginning of the Empire
right.
happening. So I can't see them doing too much in the way of trying to tie. Not that everything has to tie into Mandalorian. That's not, you know, what we're saying here. It's just it is
But
kind of fun to see like how they sow the seeds.
yeah,
We already got you know, we got the bounty hunter from the last episode that was in Mandalorian that we know partners with Boba Fett.
right. Yeah, Fennec.
Fennec, thank you. And so that's a direct tie to Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, with Dave Filoni being involved in both, you know, it's easy for them to tie things together. Nick Nolte was Kuil was the name of the character. But I mean, to your point, well, you cut out there.
Oh, I was gonna say something like that.
Yeah, something like that. There you go. But I mean, I'm looking at like the Mandalorian, for example, now, and definitely there's people like Werner Herzog's character, you know, it was just referred to as the client. We could see him, you know, in an animated format as, who knows, an admiral in, you know, in the Empire. Moff Gideon. Do we see a young Moff Gideon? You know,
That's a good point. Yeah. Do we? Yeah. I mean, it would make sense considering Moff Gideon seems like he was involved right, you know, right from the start there.
right from the get go. He seems to be what, like a step below, you know, like Vader and Krennic and all these guys.
Oh, he's
you
a
know,
Moff, so it means he's up there because
right?
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah,
Was
you're right.
involved,
You're right.
so he must be high up, really high up. Like, did he take over like Krennic's? Like after they dispatched Krennic and they had that open seat at the table, like, get a promotion.
Mr. Gideon, we now have an open spot at the table. Please take your seat.
Your application has been filled.
Yeah, has just been approved.
Yeah, you've been approved. You are now sitting at the board. You have an open seat. What happened to Alaska? Don't worry about him.
Yeah, those are the kinds of things that keep people up at night. So
Early
it's
retirement.
almost better. Yeah, early retirement. He went on a very long vacation.
Very long. He's never coming back.
We sent him to the Hotel California. He can check in, but he can never leave.
That's right. It's like the Roach Motel.
There you go.
Yeah, I was, but I really enjoyed this episode though. I liked how they set up um some of the things still going on with the storylines. We got introduced to new characters. I thought this was a good
Yeah.
adventure. Uh, which, and once again, proving that Omega's like got some serious skills. And every time
Yeah.
you go, you stay back, you watch the ship, all this stuff. But if she had done that, they'd all be dead and or just slave traded or whatever. And
Right.
she saves the day again. I mean, she's been almost saving the day kind of on like every episode, or at least been instrumental in saving the day and getting these guys out of trouble. Other thing they did in this episode too, which they're still doing, which is going to come to a head soon, which is um the what's his name, Smasher.
No.
Not Smasher, the big guy. Clanker.
It's with a W, not Ranger.
Wrecker. Yeah,
Wrecker. There you
yeah,
go.
Wrecker is still dealing with the head issues, which
Right.
means he's still fighting. I guess it's the chip. It's the chip. That
Mhm.
it's the
Absolutely.
implant, and that I got a feeling that that's going to switch very soon. And when it does, is the first person he goes after Omega because she's force sensitive.
Good point. Yeah, I didn't even think of that because,
and considering how tight they're becoming.
Yeah, and that's another interesting point. Do they notice force sensitive people, or does it just have to do with, they had a list that was implanted, in their brain? Did they know to go after, all the Jedis that they were aware of, or are the clones force sensitive? Wow, I didn't even think of that.
Just a casual observation. I mean, they may not go that way, and it may not be an issue at all. But it's just interesting to think about that. If they're setting it up for him to sort of have that turn because the chip is finally like going to start working and all that, and they're programmed to go after Jedi,
Right?
Sensitive. Does he go after Omega because he recognizes her as and this is what maybe makes the reveal as to why she's so special to
Could be.
everybody. I don't know. Just the thought of where they can go with it. Or he just flips and he goes after everybody because it's just like he's, they're not being loyal soldiers like how Crosshair is.
Yeah.
Like, loyal soldiers do what they told, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You have that same protocol.
Switch. What if Wrecker, the chip coming on is what, let's say they're put in a situation where they have to deal with him. They're able to deactivate his chip, and as a result, they go back for Crosshair so that they can, they know what to do now to, turn him back.
And that's possible too, because if you remember, not Echo, the other guy. I wish I gotta keep all these
Tech.
Tech. He was working on it. Looked like that headpiece or like headband or something that seems to override the chip.
The chip, yeah.
And he seems to be, that was something he mentioned. It was like maybe 2 episodes ago. He was working on it, and he said, "I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to get this to work. Is this the key?" Like they get it to work, they put it on Wrecker, it works, and they're like, "Now we know how to save Crosshairs to get this on him, and this will, bring him, like this will override what the chip is doing to his brain."
Yeah. Well, you have real quickly Tech, Wrecker, Hunter, Echo, and Crosshair, and Omega.
That's a drop we got to get before the
yes.
Omega. Hi, I'm Omega.
So cool. The episode, I mean, again, they're continuing the storyline. They're still hooking me in so far. There hasn't been, and I mean, let's be honest, the two of us are easy to please, provided that they
marks.
Yeah, absolutely. It checks off all the marks, and so far so good. You know, we haven't seen an episode that I think has been a letdown. It's all furthered the story a little bit, and you know, it's interesting. That was episode 4 or 5.
That was episode 5. So tomorrow will be episode 6. As you know, everybody who's listening or watching, we always do this show the Thursday before the next episode is dropped, which drops on Fridays on Disney Plus. So when we do the show on Thursday, we're always recapping the previous Friday's episode. So this was episode 5, Rampage, and I don't know what episode 6. They don't seem to reveal the names until the day of the drop on Disney. So don't know what the name of next week's or tomorrow's will be yet, but we'll find out in you know, what is it? Almost 6:30 now. So 4.5 hours.
Right. No, more than that.
6.5 hours.
They drop at midnight Pacific.
Oh, right. So 3 o'clock here in the Eastern.
3 a.m.
3 a.m. 3 a.m. EST time. So
yes.
Regardless, I won't be seeing it until I wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. 6:30. Star Wars Fridays for me.
Yes.
And then it'll have to be the same thing with Loki. When Loki starts, is I'll be waking up early on Wednesdays to watch Loki.
Yeah, looks kind of interesting. I glanced over an article today where it said that everything is going to be post Infinity War or not. Infinity War, because Endgame is where they lost him. Endgame, because I just watched Endgame.
Yes, you're right. Yes, Endgame is where they lose him. He gets killed in
Infinity War.
Loki Prime, this is the variant version of Loki. As I've been learning, he's the Loki variant.
Okay. Which again, as we've said, it opens doors to so many other people coming in, coming back, and so on and so forth. So I really thought about things when we watched that movie, with some of the stuff that you had told me, like about Gamora, about, she's dead in our timeline, but that was from a different timeline. So theoretically, our Nebula is with their Gamora, more or less.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get really interesting, trying to keep track of, like, the variants and who's from what timeline. Like, definitely the Gamora that is in Endgame, that comes in Endgame, is the one that was from the past.
Yes. Yeah, because they went back before Thanos had all the Infinity Stones. Yeah.
Had her all the stuff that changed her, and so all that stuff never happens for her.
Right. Yeah,
the other Nebula was killed. So the Nebula that's still here is a Nebula that did go through all that and was able to influence her story arc.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I guess that just about wraps it up for Bad Batch episode 5, Rampage. It's a great show. Looking forward to keep going. I have nothing bad to say. It's been great. So another fun episode of that show. Definitely Moochie. Justice for Moochie now it might be the new trending hashtag if it turns out that Moochie is the one Rancor that was slaughtered so unmercifully by Luke Skywalker.
Damn you, Luke!
Justice for Moochie.
Justice for Moochie.
Justice for Moochie.
They're gonna have to. Somebody's gonna have to take the old Cab Calloway song, "Minnie the Moocher," and change it to Minnie the Moochie.
Minnie the Moochie. Yeah, might have to. I want to see your version of that. We'll do a karaoke version and change it to Minnie the Moochie.
There you go. That's something for the Chris and Amanda show.
It might have to be. Special.
There you go. That like the Star Wars Christmas special. Yeah,
like the Star Wars Christmas special.
Exactly. There you go.
All right, quick hits. Yes.
Yes.
Quick hits. All righty. Well, we've got a lot of cool news happened.
Yes.
This past week in the world of geekdom. So, I was checking in here on the comments. Christian, what I'd miss. Happy Thursday, fellas. You missed the whole Bad Batch recap, but you're here just in time for
Quick hits, yeah.
hits. So, our first quick hit is boom, Eternals and the X Gene.
So, several people, several sites, several theorists out there are saying finally the Eternals are going to bring the X Gene into the MCU. And what I was reading was that originally, like, the origin story of the mutants is that the Celestials bring the mutant gene to Earth and they implant it into certain humans so that they can do what they want them to do, basically, because the Eternals per se are here to protect the Earth from the I just said the word and I forget the name. So many terms.
From the Celestials and then the
Celestials. There you go.
The Deviants.
Yes, I didn't bring the Deviants up yet.
Right.
The Celestials. So supposedly the Celestials bring the X gene to Earth to bring it to humanity and to make humanity do what they want via the X genes.
Okay.
And apparently the theory this week is that the Eternals are here to stop that connection between the Celestials and the mutants so that the mutants have their own free will.
Okay.
Since the movie is supposed to take place over 1,000 years, it will also explain how, mutants have been part of, well, technically Wolverine was a mutant back in the 1800s, and so were Sabretooth.
Yeah.
So
they're not immortal, but they're pretty close to being immortal. They just age very slowly.
Yes. Well, I mean, Wolverine, I guess, if you really analyze it, he kind of wanted to die, so he did everything that needed to happen so that he would die.
Right.
It isn't, but like you said, age very slowly and are very close to being, immortal.
Yes. Yeah. So this is interesting, and I do find it very plausible if this is because from a comic book standpoint, it could work.
Right.
It seems, well, I don't know. I was going to say it seems a little elaborate, but at the same time, it kind of isn't. I mean, if you're dealing with beings that are basically immortal and have already been on Earth for thousands of years, why wouldn't they start tinkering or developing DNA
Right.
way that, creates basically mutants, humans with superpowers.
Right.
And, went through evolution and all that. It just eventually, and this is the thing though, is it from over the thousands of years that they've been experimenting or doing the X gene, or is this something that's going to happen in the timeline of not the timeline, but the present day when the movie takes place? Is this something that they're going to introduce and say, oh, we've got this X gene and we're going to give a few people the mutant gene and activate them or something? Or
Yeah. Well, theoretically, isn't Apocalypse the first mutant, and wasn't he around since like ancient Egyptian time?
I believe that that's the thing, because you've got him, and of course you also had with Legion, you had Farouk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
But he's not but he was from ancient Egypt, apparently.
Right.
But he's more of like, I don't know if he's really considered a mutant though. He's actually more of like a demon or like kind of like a spirit type thing. So I don't know if he's really considered mutant. But I know Legion's not even canon anyway, but the character is. I mean, Farouk is canon. So, but I think it's Apocalypse maybe considered the first mutant.
The first.
Yeah. I think you could be right about that, which also could make sense, because if he is the first mutant, do we see that as a sort of a little bit of an origin story or something like that? Or we see
Yeah.
so that, like, I don't know. That would be
Yeah.
really interesting, though. I mean, I don't think that the theory is way out of line, considering it's comic books. You could do whatever you want, and it would make
Mhm.
sense here to me to have that at least be introduced. Does it mean we're gonna get Wolverine and Professor X and Magneto and all that in this movie? No,
Yeah, I don't think so.
but if anything, we'll get introduced to the mutant gene, which then sets things up for what's to come
Right.
over
Right. Yeah.
however many films or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know. Again, like we talked about last week, I just feel like they're just trying to shoehorn
Well,
mutants anywhere.
they got to find a way to bring them in, unless it just is like, boom, here's the movie. They've always existed. And then it's just like,
Yeah.
and somehow they just retcon the whole, like, well, where were they during Endgame and where were they during
Yeah.
this event and all that? And I don't know, but I'm sure they could find a way of doing it, unless it's multiverse and they're coming in from a multiverse perspective, and that wouldn't affect them. They wouldn't have been there for Endgame if it was a multiverse. Like,
Right.
you know, anyway, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Or I mean, hey, they've been in space before. Could
Yeah.
be this whole situation where they were in space somewhere else, and that's why we didn't know about them. That's why the last 10 years they've been off world, or whatever, however they want to play it. So who knows?
Who knows? Well, you know
We
what?
shall
For everybody watching, listening, though, we'd love to hear your theories on this, because
Yeah.
this is a great that we almost talk about this almost every week. Like, how will the mutants get introduced into the MCU? So we'd love to hear your theories. So feel free to drop us a comment or send us an email. Go over to galaxygeeks.net, hit the email, contact us, and just send us a note, and we'll read it on air. We'll talk about it. So
Yeah.
feel free to do that. So we'd love to hear your perspective or your feedback or your questions, or I'd love to hear your theory. So, and someone's checking in, and here we go. Christian, from what I've heard, their kind has been wiped by Sprite. I never read the Eternals, but I read about it. Oh, got mined.
Sprite is one of the Eternals.
Yes.
Yeah, and so from what I've read as well, Sprite, yes, wipes all of their minds, so they don't know that they have superpowers, or so that the Eternals don't know that they are the Eternals.
Right.
And what takes place in the movie is that they reach that point of consciousness, and that's when they realize who they are.
Once again, very plausible. Very plausible.
Yeah.
It could totally happen. Do I think we're going to see Professor X and all that and get the full X-Men? No, I don't think that's going to happen. Is the Eternals film? They want to set these guys up as a franchise.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they won't introduce things. But I think because the minute you introduce the X-Men in this, it's not the Eternals anymore.
Right.
No
And
Eternals at that point.
I think people have kind of simmered down with, say, shoehorning the Fantastic Four into everything, because we did get to see that four symbol at the end of the.
It's coming.
Yeah, so people are more like, okay, well, we see where the Fantastic Four is coming.
They're coming.
Whereas with the X-Men, it's still ambiguous. Still, what's going on?
Yeah. And and we know the X-Men is such a huge universe on its own.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, that's another point too. I mean, that could be. Again, if they do the multiverse, with them, they really don't have to come in contact with anyone else ever. I mean, if they want to continue that storyline, it doesn't necessarily have to cross over. I mean, it's the same thing as, well, why haven't the Star Wars characters crossed over with the Guardians of the Galaxy? Why haven't they crossed over with Battlestar Galactica? Well, they're two different stories, two different timelines. So I mean that could be something that they do as well, where they decide, hey, X-Men are just going to be their own timeline. They're not going to interact like in the comics for now with anyone else,
right?
And that's it. So
that is it, and I think that's the way they could also do it as well. So listen, we know it's coming. It's just fun to talk about when. So
yes. What do you think is more probable, though?
Okay.
The X gene happens in Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
We see Mephisto, or Spider-Man shows up
in the Eternals.
Yes.
You're saying in the Eternals?
Yes.
Three things. The X gene gets activated. We see Mephisto or Spider-Man shows up.
Yes.
I think the X gene is the most probable out of those.
Okay.
Because it makes a lot of sense there.
Okay. I'm going to say that the most probable is Spider-Man showing up in an end credit scene because it's the next movie following Eternals. I think that they may go in the direction that you just said. They're just going to establish the Eternals, much like they established Guardians, where they didn't intermix with anything else. They wanted to make sure that those characters could stand on their own. Because let's be honest, if Eternals flops, do they need to bring them back?
No.
A lot of big name actors there.
Yep. Christian, it makes more sense that they would trickle X-Men in and tease them here and there throughout all the films instead of just dropping Wolverine and Professor X out of nowhere.
True. Unless they, again, what was the name of that island? Mantropor, or what was
Madripoor.
Madripoor. Unless we find Wolverine drinking at a bar in Madripoor with Captain America, with Steve Rogers.
He might be. He might be.
Like in the comics.
All right, moving right along here because we got a bunch of other topics to talk about. Sons of the Moon coming soon.
I think I may have messed the name up now that I was thinking about, now that I'm thinking about it. So Christian, please help us out. There's a bunch of rumors that have been floating around. Dark Avengers, obviously, which we've talked about on several occasions. But Sons of the Moon, if I got the name right, was apparently a limited series, or at least a grouping that happened in two separate occasions for a small amount of time, given how long Marvel canon has been around. But Midnight Suns, there you go. Damn it!
All right.
All right. I'm an idiot, but anyway. So the rumor is that they're gonna pair Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, who's getting his own series, who's they're filming right now, The Punisher, and possibly John Blade.
Okay.
Is the rumor. So is that something that might interest you?
It would be something that interests me. I'd never heard of it before. I actually never read that book. I didn't even know there was a team up, so I missed all that. But that would interest me because I think that'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun to watch.
I mean, even again, like we said, doesn't have to be a movie. No. Doesn't have to be several seasons.
No, it'd be like Defenders. It's a one-off.
6 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be totally cool with that. Yeah. I mean, look what we just saw with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That's exactly what I'm going for.
6 episodes done. Was it 6 or 8?
It was 6.
6. So yeah, I think something like that would be great. I'd love to see it. I would absolutely love to see that. I think it'd be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving along. The real meaning behind Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes. So, rumor has it that it is No Way Home for the Sinister Six. Okay, so what I've seen in several different places is that the Sinister Six will be made up of William Dafoe's the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2, Sandman from Spider-Man 3, the Lizard from Amazing Spider-Man 1, Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Rhino, which we talked about last week with Paul Giamatti from Spider-Man, from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
But they're not talking about bringing Paul Giamatti back. They're just talking about bringing the Rhino.
Apparently, Paul Giamatti is involved. From the Tom Holland canon, we would see Mysterio, who was in the last film,
Vulture. I would
the
imagine.
Vulture,
The Vulture.
the Shocker,
Oh, right. I forgot about Shocker.
and the Scorpion.
Oh, yep. When we saw Scorpion get introduced.
Yes. So that's way more than 6, though.
I'm gonna say that's like
That's like
the Doom.
Sinister 12.
Yeah, that's the Sinister 12.
Yeah. Plus Craven. Plus, they're saying this is going to be where they introduce Craven the Hunter.
Yeah, so it's like the Sinister 13. It's like Ocean's 13. Yeah, I mean, if they bring all these characters in, Jesus, this is gonna be nuts, and that's not Sinister 6. So, unless it's a fight to the death, and at the end of it, there's 6. I don't know. It's
yeah, I don't know, and of course, the rumors are something that we talked about a few weeks back, that this is going to be the jumping point for Sam Raimi to come back in and do his Spider-Man 4,
right,
and that it's also going to be, again, the rumor is there will be a Sony Spider-Man and there will be a Marvel Spider-Man. And what they'll do is that supposedly Tobey Maguire will continue as the Sony Spider-Man, introducing Miles Morales, and Tom Holland will then continue to appear in the Marvel Spider-Man based stories.
Right, but we were talking about this. Is the Tobey Maguire will be introduced as a multiverse version?
Yes,
pulled in probably during Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
Yes. So apparently what they're saying is that both of these movies are going to have a lot of interlocking parts with the whole multiverse stuff. So we'll see characters from the one movie go over to the other movie. Plus, I've already heard that that Shang-Chi is going to have a lot to do with Doctor Strange, because there was a lot of backlash with Tilda Swanson playing the Ancient One.
Right.
Which was a part that historically was always Oriental.
Of someone of Asian descent.
Yeah, Asian descent, excuse me. Yes. So apparently the rumor is that Shang-Chi will take over that Ancient One role going forward in the Doctor Strange movies. Or
makes sense, because I mean, and as you know, that character's dead. I mean, that character's been killed off. So, you need a new Ancient One, and Doctor Strange isn't interested in being the Ancient One. So,
yes. Now that I've discussed that, going back to the Midnight Suns, Baron Modor, when he gets flipped back from heel to a face, he apparently is part of that group as well.
Okay. All right. That would be nice to see him get flipped, because I don't know if I really want to see. I don't know. I want him to go back, because I like them as a face. I don't want to see him as a heel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, typical storyline where, we've seen it a million times, where somebody doesn't think, well, we see it in music all the time. You're not metal enough.
Yeah.
So, someone turns heel on you because.
Yeah, because it's not.
It's
not
it. It's either gore guts or nothing else.
Gore guts.
Christian is saying Keanu for Ghost Rider and bring back Bernthal Punisher.
Oh, I didn't see this yet. I agree. I would like to see them both.
Yeah, I have to say, I really liked. I was going to say Diego Luna, but that's Cassian Andor, if I'm not mistaken.
It's Cassian Andor.
Yeah, the Robbie Ramirez character, which was an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was also a pretty cool Ghost Rider. So I would have no problem with them using him as Ghost Rider, but I get it.
See that, but I've heard that he's good.
Yeah, but I could see, them wanting to bring in the star power of a Keanu as Johnny Blaze. So unless they want to bring Nick Nolte back.
Yeah, that'd be fun too. I'd be all right with it. All right, moving along. Jupiter's Legacy curtain call.
Yes, one and done. It was confirmed today.
Man, I got to tell you, I this show took a ton of heat from the critics. I forgot where it is at was at Rotten Tomatoes, but it didn't do good on Rotten Tomatoes. I did watch the whole thing through, and while I thought it was slow, I felt like it really kicked in episode 7 and 8, and it ended on a cliffhanger. So let's suck.
Great way to end.
I know, and but I liked where they were going with it. I liked how it got set up. Actually, even my daughter, who doesn't like any of this stuff, actually liked it.
Oh, wow.
My older daughter, she's like, "Oh, did you watch that Jupiter show?" I go, "Yeah." She's like, "It was really good. I really liked it." Like, and and I had a feeling, though, I had a feeling there was no buzz about the show at all. I mean,
Right.
nobody's talking about it, so it it just didn't perform. I think after that first weekend, it just nosedived, and I think a lot of people just did not like the show.
How much does WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, The Boys, Invincible all play into this though?
Mhm.
Where Netflix bet on these properties
Miller World.
that are a lot lesser known, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, still
And
popular, but lesser known.
exactly.
Commercially, like
Yeah, because well, let's look at it. You know, Invincible was by
it's Kirkman.
yes, there you go. I didn't remember the name. Who, you know, you're going to bring up, well, invented Walking Dead. Instantly, people are going to flock to that, you know. The Boys with all the again, before, you know, the books were pretty popular, but the actors that they have are all great, you know, and they have big name star power mixed in there as well. Any show that kills off Elizabeth Shue, who is a very known commodity on so many levels, that takes balls to do, because you know that the story's gonna, you know, go, well, you know the story already, but to cast her and know that you're killing her, it's almost like a Sean Bean Game of Thrones type thing, because you could argue that she, you know, Back to the Future, Karate Kid, how many huge parts has she played over the years, you know?
Exactly. I mean, she's a very well-known actor. Yeah, and to do that, you know, is like is ballsy, like you said.
Yeah. So how much of Jupiter's Legacy getting canned has to do with other series like really outperforming them, both in the critics and in the, you know, and in the audience? And maybe what happened, you know, after it all went down, let's be honest, they bought these properties while they still were launching those last Marvel series. So we're talking about over 2 years ago, probably close to 3 years. So a lot has changed. You know, the landscape has really changed with streaming services since then. And it's an arms race now with them.
It is. And it's like, you know, and I think this is the first Miller World thing to come out of that deal.
Right. It is.
And it's done. So that's, you know, a failure right there. That didn't work. And so now, you know, I don't know. I can't remember. I remember we read off like
what. Yeah, we read off. Yeah,
it was a while ago, but I'll have to go back and look to see. But
yeah,
that's not. It sucks that it's not going that way, because they've had their hits. Like, you know, Shadow and Bone, huge hit. Which I actually got done watching that. Really good. Obviously, Umbrella Academy's done well for them. And they've had other, you know, comic book based hits. Army of the Dead, which isn't a comic book, but it has a very comic book type feel to it, is doing well on the platform. So, you know, I feel like, though, that this show was definitely like, I could definitely see why it didn't perform. Now, it was not
right.
I don't think for most people it didn't it's not grabbing them, and it is slow, and you got to really hang in there.
It could also be from an economic standpoint too. If you really think about it, these streaming services have taken, you know, a huge amount. Well, on the one hand, subscription has been up because a lot of people have been home just watching stuff. But on the other hand, if you're dumping a ton of money into these series, which they had to have in this series, what's the return on investment?
Right.
Are they recouping? Did they see an uptick in viewers or subscribers due to this?
Jupiter's Legacy was coming out, like,
right? But like you're saying, zero press. Maybe they knew it was done.
Just no buzz about this thing at all. Like,
well,
zero.
Look at from a Disney standpoint. The oh damn it, Rebel, which stars Peg Bundy. Damn it.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's based off of Aaron Brockovich's life and so on and so forth. It was canceled before it even came out.
Yeah, it just
Katie Seagal.
Yeah,
the name didn't.
Seagal. Yeah, didn't make it.
And
but
so
that's what happens.
Yeah, so they're not the only one, but it's happening.
It's definitely happening. So
all
right, moving along. Next topic here.
Yes.
Indiana Jones 5 starts filming.
Yes, Indiana's the name of the dog. So apparently, Harrison Ford is in England, and they start this weekend, I believe, is what I've read.
I've read these things too, and some things have kind of leaked out a little bit, and it's definitely, hey, here we go. And I am one hand excited because hey, Indiana Jones is our good friend, coming back on for one last ride on this, at least as Harrison Ford playing Indy.
Yeah.
So what I don't know really what the premise is yet. I think they've been pretty mum on the plot. I'm sure it leaked out at some point, and whether it's real or not, who knows. It's got to be better than the last movie because the last film is not very good. And there's parts of that. I love the opening. I love the motorcycle chase scene. I love they brought Karen Allen back, who definitely, I love seeing her, but you could definitely tell she's been out of the game for a little bit. As far as her acting was in that film, but still, it was fun to see her. I love the callback, and other than that, was not very good. And obviously, I don't, and it's not the aliens thing and all that, honestly, because every era of Indiana Jones represents those serials, and so this comic age like version of Indiana Jones, and I got that. I was not like lost on me. It just fell flat. It just didn't go. It just didn't work. And
so
I'm hoping that this one sort of redeems. Is the sequel? Well, I guess is the next installment in this storyline that actually brings it home.
Right. Do you think it's important that Spielberg isn't the one directing it? That
I do. I actually do. Because I think it's time to pass the torch, man. I mean, I think he's involved, and you can always tell when he still has his hand on things. That you could see it. But I think it's time to pass the torch a little bit to somebody else. I mean, look what's happening with Star Wars, right? I mean, we're passing a torch. All these great filmmakers are coming in. Taika Waititi, Patty Jenkins, and and obviously sounds like we see what Favreau and Filoni are doing, and then there's other directors out there that are getting involved. I forgot her name, but she did a bunch of episodes of Mandalorian, and she's the one doing one of the other Star Wars films, the spin-off films, and all that. Oh no, she's doing a Kenobi series. I'm sorry, she's directing a Kenobi series. But still, I think it's time to pass the torch to other people that could breathe some really good life into these stories, and sort of deliver the movie that like we all want, as fans, and especially our age group. Like this is what we want, man. We want to see a really good Indiana Jones movie. I mean, now's the time to really do that, and I think unite everybody, and we all feel good about it. Our heroes back on screen, Indy, and then whether or not how they finish it off, I don't know. Maybe they finish this part of the story off, but then they're gonna start doing like these younger Indiana Jones films and things like that.
Yeah, they need to do that. They need to do a James Bond type deal and say, screw it. We've got a lot more Indiana Jones stories to tell.
Yeah. There's no reason why it should be over.
Yeah, because think about it. I mean, we're in the year 2021, and they're still discovering treasures and shit in the jungle.
There's so many adventures Indy gets involved in.
Yes, there's so many different things where you could even go far back as even if you want to, revive even for a Disney Plus series, if you want to do, his father and his adventures before Indy, what led him to, want to chase the Holy Grail and everything that he did in, pre-World War II, what he dealt with during World War I and before that, and trying to, navigate the, different continents and whatnot. There's so much stuff that they can get into. They haven't touched, a lot of different corners of the world. Indiana Jones has not been in, the Burmese jungle. He hasn't been, we've seen him in different parts of the world, but there's still plenty of places that really weren't explored up until like the late 1800s, where plausibly there were tribes around, there were treasures, there were different things, so
yeah. I think it's, exactly. So there's lots to be explored, and
yes,
I think they should absolutely keep it on. But I am excited to see this going, and fingers crossed we're gonna have a really good Indiana Jones movie. So
yes,
you can be sure we'll keep giving updates on this as we go along and as they get trickled out.
absolutely.
All right. So getting close to the end here. In more
Yes.
news, American Horror Story is back, baby.
Yes. As of August 25th, season 10. It's funny because for like the last 2 seasons, they were saying, oh, this is the last season. This is the last season. And then it's back. But it's owned by Disney now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It was in the deal. It was their
Okay.
in their purchase deal.
Because it's coming out on FX, which is their network.
Yep.
And on the 25th with Sarah Paulson.
Yep.
Pietro, Evan Peters, Lily Rabe, I don't know how you pronounce that. Angelica Ross, Finn Whitrock, Francis Conroy, Emma Roberts, Paris Jackson, which I don't know if that's her acting debut or not.
I don't know,
but I'm sure there'll be callbacks to her father somehow.
I'm sure. We'll see.
And Macaulay Culkin.
I did hear Macaulay Culkin was going to be in this season.
And I've already seen a promo photo with, I believe it's Sarah Paulson and Macaulay Culkin. So,
so I'm excited. I loved American Horror Story 1984, and if anybody listening missed when it came out, we did like a little Galaxy Geek spinoff where it was me and my wife Rachel breaking down every single episode of that season. We literally followed it. Every episode followed the entire season. So if you want to go back and listen to those, if you've seen 1984, feel free. You can go back into the archives and listen to them. But I'll have to see if Rachel's up for doing that again as this season, this new season starts. We'll see. But I'm excited about this, man. I love American Horror Story. I think it's been great. I mean, not every season's been amazing, but
right.
I'd say the last 2 seasons have definitely been a lot of fun to watch. 1984 and the Apocalypse one. It was so funny. It was so over the top and ridiculous. I loved it, and so was this last one. It was so ridiculous. It was great.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked those out, if you go to galaxyofgeeks.net, you scroll down the page, you'll see AHS.
Yep,
right there on one of the logos. Click on that, and all of the episodes that Chris and Rachel did are right there, so you don't have to dig too deep. We made sure to bring it all front and center for you guys.
Absolutely. So it's all there. So you can definitely check those out. And I'll see if I could, if she's up for doing it again. Oh, and we've got Christian. I listened, was a super fun season. Excited from Macaulay. He's got a great podcast. It is a quote, quite an eccentric guy. Ironic, him and Paris are both in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Can you imagine now that he brings that up, will there be any references to Bubbles?
Could be funny. Could be funny if they do. Ryan Murphy's got a good sense of humor, man. He oftentimes makes little references to real life things. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Our last topic of the evening.
Yes. Coming back around to Star Wars.
Coming back around to Star Wars. I am the Force, and the Force is one with me. Mr.
Donnie
joins John Wick 4. Love this news.
Yes, was
You
just
know,
announced.
yeah. Anybody who listens to the show know how big of fans Victor and I are of John Wick and that whole series.
Yes,
And I'm sure John Wick 4 will not disappoint. And
absolutely.
Donnie Yen, awesome. What a great addition. Love
Yeah,
this. Great casting.
I agree. This will be so cool. And he, we've both seen John Wick 3.
Mhm.
You brought in damn it, her name escapes me right now. Storm.
Oh, Holly Berry.
Halle Berry. Or Halle Berry. You brought her in. She didn't have to be in a lot of the movie.
She was
It
great.
was just enough to get it over and to get to kill one of the Lannister men there.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, even if Donnie just comes in for a fight scene, I'm sure it'll be over the top and excellent. But
I'm sure it will.
I'm assuming that by bringing him in and his name and his stature, that they'll probably make it that he's part of, the Continental or part of the assassins that were part of that whole deal.
It only makes sense that he's
Yeah.
part of the assassin and maybe an long, like, old ally of John Wick's, and he's gonna, have to break the code to help him, or who knows? It's maybe some deep-seated stuff there, or he's part of the big bad. I mean, he could be a big bad. So
Could be.
it could be the boss. Have to reach the boss level and get past Donnie Yen.
That could be it too.
It'll be really cool to see who he's playing and all that. I'm excited. I think it's very, very cool casting news.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Awesome.
I agree, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So with that, that wraps up the show for this week. We want to thank everybody for watching live. Want to thank everybody who watches the replay. Want to thank everybody who's listening to the audio version of this. We will be back with another episode starting next week. We'll be covering Loki and the Bad Batch, and then also doing quick hits. So that'll be starting next week, because that's when Loki drops. Loki starts next Wednesday. Loki's going to drop on Wednesdays. Bad Batch is still going to be dropping on Fridays. So when we talk about it, we'll be talking about obviously the most current versions of the shows and when this airs and all that. So, but we'll be nonetheless covering both of those. So if there's anything you would like to hear us talk about on the show, if you have any suggestions, feedback, or if there's a quick hit or a piece of news you want us to bring up, we're happy to do it. Of course, as we said too, especially with the X-Men, if you have an idea of how the X-Men are going to come into the Marvel Universe, send us a note, drop us a line, go to our website, galaxygeeks.net, hit the email there, let us know. There's 1,000 ways to reach out and communicate with us, and we're happy to read it on the air and discuss it for sure. Of course, we always have our Galaxy Geeks merch store, which we encourage you to visit. We need to keep the lights on here, pay some bills. So if you buy any kind of piece of merch there, it really helps. It does go a long way to help pay for server costs and all those little things we do to keep the show up and running. Victor and I, as we always say, we do the show because it's fun. It's something we love doing, but there is some money out of pocket costs for us to do the show. So when you buy shirts or things like that, it does help us to pay for a little bit of those costs. It offsets it a little bit. So we do appreciate any support there. And I'm going to throw it over to my co-host here, if there's anything else you'd like to say.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, just wanted to say, as Chris said, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe regardless where you're checking this out, and know that, hey, it may not be convenient to watch the video show, so you can subscribe on iTunes. Listen to us on the way to work. Listen to us on, I think it's 17 different platforms, podcasting platforms, where you can check us out. So there's a plethora of ways that you can listen to the Galaxy of Geeks podcast. So, and as Chris said, please share your thoughts with us. We enjoy bringing stuff up. We enjoy, getting that spark from people in the group, from people that just give us feedback and just, give us something else to talk about. So awesome. On that note, Chris just does such a well job of just summing everything up. I really haven't, he really paints me into a corner. So
Sorry.
I really have.
I want to make sure you get final words in. That's all.
But you're so thorough. You're so good at it. So, I mean, I have a quote from Winston Wolfe here, which we want to keep it PG, so I won't play it. But anyway, I just, again, thanks. Whether you watch this live, whether you listen or watch the playback, we appreciate your support. Please share, please like, comment. That's just as important to us as well. And on that note, I just want to say, punch it, subscribe, and we'll see you next time right here on the Galaxy of Geeks live stream and podcast.